right, thank you very much. Bill won't let me use his microphone. I could talk like this, but
Go ahead, yeah. My friend.
we just met them. William O'Donnell is the Norfolk County Registry of Deeds. For those people who are living within Norfolk County, he means a lot more to you than those who aren't. Is that correct? But you'll learn a little bit about what they do at the Norfolk County Registry of Deeds, a little bit about the Homestead Act, which is certainly important in any area,
Yes.
not just Norfolk County. And I give you William P. O'Donnell.
Great. Good morning. Good morning. My name's Bill O'Donnell, and Terry, thanks for the introduction. I know the Chamber of Commerce does a lot of great things. I've been to a lot of your meetings, and you meet the officials day, and it's been great to see a lot of people like Fred and people that I haven't seen in a while. And the Chamber of Commerce does a nice job. But I heard you've had a lot of more dynamic and interesting speakers than someone who's the Register of Deeds. You're probably saying, who's that? And so when Joanne and Terry were setting this thing up, I said, well, why are you picking me? And he goes, I go, what are you, desperate for a speaker? And he goes, we are. So that's why you got stuck with me today, this morning. But when you think about it, and I've been involved locally, my first elected board was the Norwood Planning Board. And I've been involved in public service. I was an assistant district attorney for Bill Delahunt prosecuting cases. But we see government at a local level, but the registry is an arm of government many people don't know about. But when you think about it, it impacts the biggest asset most of us have are our homes. So Terry asked me to talk a little bit about the dynamics of what's been going on at the Registry of Deeds under my watch, and then a little bit about some of the other issues like the homestead and discharges. Well, I became a register in 2002, and believe me, time goes by. But one of the things we're most proud of at the registry is trying to modernize it. And as I mentioned, my background, I saw what the good of government, like at the local level, what can be done. I was lucky to go to school down in Washington, D.C. and worked for a few years for Congressman Joe Moakley, and I learned about public service and about helping the consumer out, helping the good customer service. So I try to bring some of those notions to government. I also worked in the private sector as an attorney, much like many of you. You have employees to pay, bills to meet, and what I tried to do when I became register is try to take some of that private sector experience and apply it to a government agency, and I think we've done it. When I got there, I wanted a customer service-oriented, efficient operation. But when I did get there, believe it or not, and it was in 2002, not that long ago, there was no email at the registry. There was a year's worth of boxes of mail with documents that needed to be recorded, a lot of things that needed to be changed, and some of it was a function back in '02. It was a real busy economic time. I know the real estate brokers were real happy, a lot of closings taking place in '03, '04, and hopefully we're getting back to those good economic times. But there was a paralysis of paper, so some of the things that we did to modernize the registry was to bring in a new computer system, a new document management system, and it allowed us to manage the paperwork. Because when you think about it, the Registry of Deeds is an arm of government that deals with a very important sector of the economy. Real estate, whether it's residential real estate or commercial real estate, people want to rely on the records. And that's really the mission of the registry, is to provide reliable a recording service to reliable documentation so that part of the economy flows very nicely. But we had to do it more efficiently. With the improvements in the technological side of things, the employees got new equipment, new scanning equipment. We started scanning equipment in, scanning documents in. Just the computers. We have over 50 computers sprinkled around the Registry of Deeds. So, if you can, if you want to come by 649 High Street, those computers aren't just open to the public. Just to the lawyers or the title examiners or things like that. It's open to the public, so anyone can come by 649 High Street to use those computers. We're very proud because for the first time we have internet land record research. So if you go on, and we have some handouts here, www.norfolkdeeds.org, we're trying to bring the registry's records into people's homes and businesses. So you're more than welcome to come by the Registry of Deeds. We want you to come by. But the information I'm going to talk to you about that's accessed, it can be accessed from your home computer. And check our website. Our website, periodically, we just had one a month ago, we have computer seminars where people can come in and learn about the registry and how to do the research. And as a matter of fact, in the handout here, there is a paper that when we hand out at the seminar, it's Norfolk Deeds research. A lot of people take that home and they said, the document that says Norfolk Deeds Computer Assisted Research Guide, they said, wow, we took that information home and kind of went on the computer and it was very helpful. But please check our website, because our website, not only has information like that, we try to, be good, good neighbors. We have a Toys for Tot drive. We have a food drive. We've partnered up with Cradles to Crayon where you can donate things. So there's some good information socially about what gets done at the registry, but also there's good information. Some of you may have already bought houses, but you might have children or grandchildren that are buying houses. We have information for first-time home buyers. We've partnered up with some groups, Neighbor Works of Southern Massachusetts and Quincy Community Action. They provide foreclosure service to people. Unfortunately, there's been some tough economic times, and so if you go on our website, we have links to these groups, as well as the Attorney General's office that has a lot of great information for people who you may know that are struggling with homestead. We have information on that website about the homestead, which I'll talk about in a little bit, and other information that you may find helpful. Some of the other things we're doing at the registry, again, trying to run it like a business. We just so you know, your records are preserved. We have made great efforts to implement disaster recovery to protect not only the operation but the records. So by law, we have to microfilm, which may not seem like a great form of disaster recovery, but we microfilm every document and send it out to New York so it's preserved. And when you think about it, why do you do that? Well, look at what happened in New Orleans. Those registries and those land court documents, when the flood came, just got completely wiped out. So at least you can recreate records. We're still one of the few registries that print books. A lot of registries don't. We still print books. We still do it the old-fashioned way so people can come in. So I'm talking about computerization, but if you want to do it the old-fashioned way, you can come to the registry and print books. But we've also implemented a tape drive system. Our records get backed up daily and weekly, and they get shipped off-site to a renovated nuclear bunker, believe it or not, in Rhode Island. So the records are protected down there. And what we've also tried to do is, again, run it like a business. We were the first registry to put in a generator. So, of course, once we put it in, we didn't have any problems because it was always cutting out with the different storms. So as soon as you invested the money, for some reason, you don't have the problems. But rest assured, if we do, you can still come to the registry and close if things like that happen, because we have a generator there. And what we've also done is create in another section of Dedham, not too far from the registry, an office. So if something happens to 649 High Street, the operation of the registry can still continue. You can still do close. There's a little room there. It would be kind of tough, but we would still be able to keep the business going, because when someone's trying to close on a house or a commercial property, there are legal requirements that require it to be done on certain days. Sometimes you can get extensions, right, Fred? But sometimes you can't. So we want to make sure we're open so that if those closings need to take place and something unfortunately bad happens at our building, that we can still do it. It will be a struggle, but I just want you to know that we've thought out of the box. That when we got there, when I first got there was no such thing as a disaster recovery office, and we have one so that documents can be recorded. I'm going to talk a little bit about what we've done, what's available to you out on the internet. And if you enter Book 1, Page 1, the first document that was recorded in Norfolk County back in 1793 is actually viewable. So we have all the scanned indexes available. We have, if you run your names, you can go back, and we're continuing to go back further and further. As a matter of fact, from 1900 to the current, the indexes are available. All the old indexes are on, but if you ran your name, if you ran my name, every Bill O'Donnell back to 1900 would come up. And you might say, well, that doesn't sound very far, because, Norfolk County started in 1793. Well, when you think about it, from 1793 to 1900 are only 861 books. And to give you a sense, when I became registered in 2002, it was book 17,000, and we're approaching book 33,000. So there has been a lot of economic activity, but we only have 861 more books to go. And as a matter of fact, the indexing project is underway, and it's almost complete. We're just trying to get it right. So we are 861 books short of doing all 33,000. And one of the reasons it's going slow from 1793 to 1900 is they're handwritten documents, and you have to go back and trying to index that. But another project we're doing, and we have some of it up on the website as a test, we're transcribing those old documents. So we're actually typing them out. So if you wanted to view that first document, you went to book 1, page 1, you're going to see it's handwritten, very hard to read. But if you hit an icon with a T on it, the typed version of that document comes out. So there's a lot of, there's people here I know that are interested in the registry because it's business for them. But there are other people that do it for genealogical research or historical research on who lived at the house. So there's a lot of good documents that way. So there's a lot of information on the internet. It's available. But my dad used to climb poles. He's retired from the Boston Edison. So when you tell him what you're doing at work, he always said, remember this computerization stuff you're talking about. Some of us don't know anything about computers, don't want to know anything about computers, don't care to know anything about computers. So remember that. And with that in mind, we did start a customer service center. So we have at the registry a customer service center where we have dedicated registry personnel and computers. So if you need to look up information, they'll look it up from you. We're in a building where the jury pool and other government entities are upstairs. People come in from the jury pool saying, I've been meaning to get a copy of my deed for 10 years, and they just go in and we do it for them. So we do have a customer service office. The direct number is 781-461-6101, where they can look up information for you. So I know a lot of people are afraid of the computers, but we do have staff that if you need questions answered and things like that, the customer service center can do it. I see bankers here. I know there are brokers here. One of the good things we did at the registry is we took a lot of the space for closing rooms. We have closing rooms now. When I first got there were 2 or 3 tables everyone was fighting for to do closings. A lot of people like doing the closings at the banks. I see with Randolph Savings Bank here or at the lawyer's office, but some brokers and others want to do it right at the registry, get it done, get it recorded. So we still we have space available, and I have to thank the historical societies and commissions because and you might say, what do they have to do with the registry? Well, we asked them to send a historical picture or pick a picture that represents your town, and we got a lot of great pictures. So every picture is from every community in Norfolk County is represented. So down in the closing area, there's a lobby with a bunch of tables. We have some rooms. We put those old historical pictures that were sent to us, and again, you have to thank Stoughton. All the communities did a great job, and actually all the communities we have in our record hall, each flag of each community, there are 28 communities here in Norfolk County, sent a flag. So we try to make it a welcoming place. People can do closings at the registry, and they're welcome to do it. Another thing that we've been doing, again, showing a modernization effort that has taken place at the registry. We're one of the first registries to do it, is called electronic recording, where closings take place at lawyers' offices, and instead of coming to the registry or courier, having a courier bring documents to the registry, they send it over the internet and the documents get recorded. It was allowed, the legislature passed a few years ago a law about it, and we were one of the first registries to implement it here in Massachusetts, and it's working out well. Again, we welcome people coming by 649 High Street, but we also respond to what's going on in society. Society wants things sometimes too quickly, but that's what we've tried to do, is try to accommodate lawyers and banks and brokers that are saying this makes us deliver our services more efficiently. So we do have electronic recording at the registry. So those were some of the things that have been taking place at the registry. One of the things I was asked to talk about was the homestead. But before I get there, there are a couple of things. When we go out, and it's great going out to the public. I love coming to events like this. But because of the internet, We do office hours. We were just in Stoughton a couple of weeks ago doing office hours. We go to the senior centers. We go to chambers of commerce and Rotaries and speak. And when you go around, sometimes people get taken advantage of, and I want to. That's one thing I always do when I go to talk. And there's a handout here in the literature. There's a group out there that has been soliciting people for $60. They'll give you a certified copy of your deed. And again, if you need a certified copy of your deed, come to the registry. For $2, you can get a certified copy of your registry deeds. As a matter of fact, when we go out to the office hours and things like that, if people need a copy of their deed, we just print it out and give it to them for no cost as part of the service of us going out to the community. And the reason I mention that is this has been going on for a while. As you can see in this handout, there was a newspaper article. We've gotten coverage. It was in the Herald. Again, it's a terrible title if you're a politician. It says "Dirty Deeds Not Done Cheap," but it really, it really was the Herald trying to broadcast this scam that's going on. And Channel 4 News did a special on it, as did WBZ Radio, but it's still happening. So you can see from that article, it was $60 they were taking people, and they know where they go to come to get the certified copy of the deed. They come to the registry. So people were paying $60. They'd come to the registry, the group. Again, the Attorney General was made aware of it. The Secretary of State was made aware of it. I've been told it may be legal, but I still think it's unethical. I still think it's really a sham on the consumer. So just if you know anyone that gets these solicitations, tell them to come directly to the Registry of Deeds. And it's continuing. At least back then, you get a certified copy of your deed. The new group, for $83, they send you what looks like a real estate bill. And it says Norfolk County document processing fee. And, even though on it they say this isn't a government agency bill, they are sending it to people who are doing who have had closings. They're targeting the elderly. And, I've dealt with it in Dedham. An attorney that I know came to me and said, look, my client here thought I didn't do a job. She came in, she was yelling at me, and I told her to tear up the check because it was this solicitation. So it looks like a bill. It's not a bill from the registry. It's another scam for $83. So please, and they're targeting everybody, not just elderly. They're targeting first-time home buyers. They're just a lot of people are not familiar with the registry, not familiar with closings. They only do it once, as we were talking with Fred, once every 20 years sometimes. And if you're out there and you hear that, tell them come directly to the Registry of Deeds. Another thing, I mentioned our website. There's a lot of great information on our website. If you need a homestead form, we have them in the folder here. But you can download a homestead form free at the registry. And the reason I mention that, there's another group that sends out, and they really target the elderly. For $15, they'll give you a homestead form. They won't fill it out. They won't do anything like that. But they just take the form. They send a form out. So people shouldn't be paying $15 for a blank form. You can come to the registry. We have the forms, and again, on our website you can download it if you don't want to come to the registry. Another thing before I get into the homestead is discharges. The discharges are a document that tells the world that your mortgage is paid off. And if your mortgage is paid off, I'm jealous because I have 3 kids. One's out of college, one's in college. So I got to wait before that happens. But some of us have to have refinance and take a little equity out. And so everyone should check their discharges. And the reason I mention that is the discharge tells the world that your mortgage has been paid off. So if you refinance, your old mortgage, has been paid off. It's been paid off. And we see it at the registry. People will come in and say, wait a minute, I paid that mortgage off 20 years ago, but the discharge wasn't recorded. Now, I'm a big believer in community banking. I know if you go to the local banks in my hometown or in Randolph, Stoughton, the community banks did it right. Most of the time they recorded the discharges, but if the discharge didn't get recorded, you go to the community bank, they look it up, they see you've paid it off, and they take care and make sure that they give you the discharge and you get it recorded at the registry. And the reason I mention it is a lot of the bigger banks that I think got us in trouble a little economically a few years ago, they didn't always follow the rules. They didn't always record discharges. They didn't always record assignments. And it becomes problematic, in my opinion, as far as the integrity of the recording system. But the reason I mention it, we have a document in here, where has my bank gone? You can go, and again, you can look this information up on our computer. It provides links, for instance, to the state of Massachusetts Division of Banks. There's also links on the federal level as far as tracking down where your bank went. Because think about your old banks, you know, Union Warren. Where did the Union Warren become? And we used to track it at the registry, and it became so cumbersome. You know, if you're in that situation, we're providing you links. And the reason I mention it is you just got to do some paperwork. It's not an insurmountable problem. Getting your discharge, or it shouldn't be. But if anyone who has been through it, some people probably have been through it as brokers, you might have gone through it through a consumer, sometimes it becomes chasing paper, and it's not as easy as it should be. And the reason I mention it is you can use our computer system to run your mortgages, you know, to see, you know, you put in your name, everything that is against your property shows up, and you can start hitting what they call an abstract button, and it will tell you, is that mortgage satisfied, yes or no? And as I said, it may be satisfied in the sense you paid it off, but you want to make sure it's satisfied in the sense that that discharge gets recorded. So that's just you know, another thing that many people may not be aware of, but all of us have borrowed money, and you know, certainly make sure your discharges have been paid off. And you may as well do it when you're not under the gun. You know, whether a closing's taken place, or you know, maybe the rate, you have a rate lock and the interest rate looks really good. You want to make sure everything is just so that your closing goes smoothly. Yes.
What is the fee for the discharge of the mortgage?
The discharge, again, all the fees at the registry are set by the state legislature. Don't blame the register of deeds for the fee, but it's $76 on a mortgage discharge. Yes.
The town hall, and people are constantly coming in. The banks tell them to come to us to get it released, and we have to send them to you. And I told them I thought it was $76.
It's $76, and in fairness to the banks, and I will say that, some of the banks used to send the discharges to the consumer, and either the consumer, maybe it wasn't as clear to the consumer that that piece of that document should be recorded. I mentioned we do office hours. I can tell you a few of the office hours we've had older people come in, and they're saying, I need a discharge, and I said, well, do you mind? I'll go through your paperwork. They have all this paperwork. They're very good about organizing things, and sure enough, there isn't a discharge from 20 years ago that they just didn't record at the registry. But they shouldn't send you to the town hall because you don't have a discharge. They still have to get an original document, which is a discharge from somebody. Sometimes it's in people's document file, but a lot of times it might not have ever been prepared or sent out, and you just have to chase the paperwork to get it. But you know, certainly you can send them to our customer service department.
Newly paid mortgages, so they bring the paper with them that says right on it, we recognize you've paid it in full.
Yeah.
Please go to your local town hall.
Yeah,
So
well,
I think probably just the naming of what it is.
and if you want, we have some extra of these green folders. You're welcome to take them and give it to them. As far as explain, it's in there about where has my discharge gone. And a lot of it is in Massachusetts. We have 21 registries, but some states do it by community. And imagine, you know, if you have in Massachusetts, you know, 300 and something communities recording systems, that would be probably a disaster. So that's one good basis of how we do it regionally. I think it's a good economics, good economically, and there's a scale that I think helps. But in some states, maybe that's why they send them to town hall. The town halls do it, But no, feel free to direct them accordingly, and that'll be great. The last thing Terry and Joanne mentioned was talking about the homestead. I do have information in there about the homestead. The homestead is an act of the state legislature. Your state senators and state reps wrote laws involving the homestead, and they're constantly looking at it. When I first became registered, the protection under a homestead was $300,000, and it's now $500,000. What the homestead is you as a person who owns property, and it has to be your principal residence, can declare in a state of homestead that protects your property against certain debts. Now, don't go running out to Foxwoods or everything thinking the homestead wipes out the debt. The debt's never wiped out. It just kind of I always say, puts a picket fence around your house, puts your house off limits. Again, it has to be your principal residence. And it doesn't matter age. If you're lucky enough to be 18 years old and own a house and it's your principal residence, you can declare an estate a homestead. And what does it protect against? Well, if you don't pay the bank, the bank can foreclose on you whether you have a homestead or not. If the town of Stoughton is owed taxes, they can foreclose as well, take it by tax title, even if a homestead is recorded. But there are situations, some people get themselves into credit card debt. Some people, the best example I can give is people are driving around, they might think they have a lot of car insurance, $100,000 worth of car insurance. If they hit somebody and next thing they hit someone and there's someone really got hurt and it's a $500,000 case. Well, the insurance company, you only have $100,000 worth of coverage. The person who's representing that injured party is going to be looking to your assets and to try to satisfy that debt. So to me, that's probably the best reason. We don't think things are going to happen to us, but things sometimes do. That's probably the best reason to have a homestead, to just, it protects your house against a forced sale. That's the bottom line of a homestead. I think, as I mentioned, I'm an attorney by training. You talk to 10 different attorneys, you probably get 10 different opinions on things. But I think with respect to the homestead, 9.9 out of 10 would say you should have a homestead recorded. And as I mentioned, it's always being looked at. The legislature increased it to $500,000. Recently, there were some changes in 2011 so that if you don't declare an estate a homestead, and I think people should, you can get $500,000 worth of protection. For the first time, the state legislature has made it an automatic homestead. So if you've done nothing, at least you get $125,000 worth of protection. Now, it gets a portion depending on who owns it, and for my the filing fee for a homestead is $36 to file a homestead. And again, if you own it with a spouse, you and your spouse have to sign it. That's been another change in the law, that both of you have to sign it. But for $36, you can get $500,000 worth of protection. Hopefully you'll never need it, but at least you do it. And what the legislature has also done, there was some arguments made that if you refinanced, and if you looked at some of those refinance documents, which again is the beauty of the internet, you can go online and look at the 30 pages mortgage that you signed and probably didn't read. In some of the older documents, they actually terminated the homestead. Now, some people argue they only terminated it for that particular transaction, but some creditors were arguing, no, that terminated the homestead permanently, and people were refinancing, after refinancing, putting another homestead on. The legislature tried to address that under the new statute, saying, look, if there's language like that in a mortgage document, you don't have to record the homestead. Your homestead is good. And again, that law went into effect in 2011. So I just point that out. So the legislature tried to do things.
Retroactive back?
Well, that's one of the issues. That's one of the issues. The credit card companies and other people that are trying to, and you got to remember, there's people that don't want you to have protections. They're trying to say, hey, that law went into effect 2011. So, if your homestead got terminated before that, it's still terminated. So again, to my way of thinking, I would just record another homestead. When in doubt, I just record another homestead just to make sure. Other protections the homestead gives you is, for instance, just say you sold a house. The proceeds of your sale, if you under the statute, are protected, again for a limited period of time, 1 year, but the proceeds, so the creditor can't come in and swoop in and take the proceeds of your sale. Also, maybe your house burned down and you got a casualty insurance check from the insurance company to build the house. If you have a homestead filed, it protects that check, again for a limited period of time. I believe it's 2 years on that one, to make sure you can kind of get the house built before your creditors swoop in. So there are a lot of good protections under the homestead that you should consider. Also, and again, when you see, your state reps and senators, I know, you have Lou Kafka here, Sharon and Stoughton, you can thank them, because these are the things that people don't really know about, and that's why I love coming to groups and talking about. But, the changes they made to benefit the consumer. Another issue that would come up was, if you owned the property in trust, could you record a homestead? At the registry in Norfolk, I always took the homestead, even if you had it in trust. But in the land court, you couldn't. And 20% of Norfolk County's registry is in the land court. 20% of the property here in Norfolk County is in the land court. There was a case that said if you put the property in trust, the trust owns it, not the individual, and the homestead can only be filed by individuals. Well, thank you, state legislatures. They've changed that so that if you do have property in trust, again with this 2011 change, you can take the option, you can put a homestead on. Again, you should talk to whoever, you took the time to get estate planning and get some advice, so you might want to get some advice on that, but at least that option has been given to the consumer as well to do the homestead. Yes, Terry.
I just want to add one piece of being that the Chamber is a business organization advocating for the business community. A number of the people here are owning businesses. The homestead is also important because what we sometimes think as sole proprietors or DBAs, even as LLPs or LLCs, is that they can't come after the house. And the fact is that very often can. Now, again, like Bill said, not in all examples. I mean, there's fraudulent examples where they probably can come after the house. But by having a homestead, a business deal gone bad, the homestead might be able to protect the house. So that's something really important for business people to consider.
Well, it is, and again, many of you might have homesteads, but you may have, again, younger children, grandchildren, nieces and nephews, people who are self-employed, the plumber who's out working, they might not be at an event like this to hear about this, so feel free to take the documentation or mention it to them, because the younger people, and we were all there at one point, when you're trying to start out, whether you're a lawyer, a lot of lawyers are individually owned, they're not incorporated, plumbers, those are the people that, let's face it, we live in a litigious society that lawsuits happen. Those are the people that really need protection. And the biggest asset you have, and I started this the talk by saying that the registry deals with the biggest asset most of us have our homes, and people should take steps to protect that home. So if you're self-employed, please spread the word, especially to the younger business people, because it's something you're not thinking about. I know when I got out of the DA's office and you're starting your law practice, you're just trying to make ends meet and pay bills, and it's always good to have, get some advice from a mentor or someone that just took interest and said, hey, you might want to consider having a homestead, because certainly if you're self-employed, all your assets are on the table when something goes wrong at the work end, so feel free to spread that word. But the homestead, again, is really something to consider doing. Again, the monies that get collected, I don't have any financial interest whether you record homesteads or not. Most of the money that we collect at the registry goes to the Department of Revenue. When you hear them projecting about how much revenues they've collected and things like that, that's where we send it. So at the registry, we don't get any benefit out of people recording homesteads, other than the fact that I think it protects the consumer, and that's why I always go out there and urge people to at least take a look at it. Talk to attorneys. If you have an attorney, definitely seek their advice, but I really think it's a good consumer protection. And again, it just shows there's a lot of things that we don't know about real estate, about the Registry of Deeds. I hope I've outlined a little bit about what the Registry of Deeds does and some of the consumer issues like mortgage discharges and homesteads. But if anyone has any questions, I'm glad to take them. But I really, I enjoy being in the Registry of Deeds. It's an arm of government I only knew about a little as an attorney, but the more I delve into it, it really does impact in a lot of ways businesses. It impacts consumers, and it's been a real privilege serving as Register of Deeds. And it's a privilege coming here to the Chamber of Commerce. We've always tried to involve ourselves with the Chamber of Commerce, and actually the Registry is a member of the Stoughton Chamber of Commerce. But I think the Chamber of Commerce is, and there's a lot of great ones around here, but for you people to have such a strong community-based Chamber of Commerce, you're very fortunate, and I appreciate your time, especially early morning coming out here, and thanks very much. And if anyone has any questions, I'll try to answer them. Yes, Fred?
Does a portion of the fees generated by the registry come back to the community in some of the preservation projects or something like that?
Yeah, well, the community preservation, Yes, community preservation monies, and again, the Community Preservation Act was passed a while ago in 2003, and a lot of communities didn't jump in on it right away. But what happens is there has to be an election within the community to put a community preservation fee in place, and that money gets distributed into the Department of Revenue, and then they distribute it accordingly. And according to that act, it has to be either for housing, open space, and there's a third part of it, historic preservation. And some towns have used it. I know Needham used it to renovate their town hall. Other people have used it to gather open space or to help with some of the field situations in the town. So we're just really the collection point, and then the Department of Revenue takes over and they distribute it accordingly. But it's something a lot of the communities.
The town of Stoughton adopted CPA back in 2009, and through this year, we've collected over $1 million in state trust fund matches.
And some of the towns, I know the first 3 towns in Norfolk County were Medway, Norfolk, and I believe Cohasset. They jumped in thinking they'd only get 100% match for just a couple of years, and they got 100% match for a long, long time because they jumped in early on it. And other communities haven't. I know my hometown hasn't, and people have urged them because there are housing needs, there are historical, like I said, Needham thought out of the box and used it to fix their town hall up. I know there was a court case and the legislature changed it so it's not only open space, but it can be used to help your infrastructure for ball fields and things like that. So it's definitely more and more of the communities in Norfolk County are looking at it as far as a way to satisfy some of the needs locally. So we pass it on, but it's been a subject matter we kind of watch. Yes?
So how do you guys fund yourself if you don't take the fees?
Well, we do get a portion of the fees go through the county structure, and we get a portion of them. And again, some of the other, the county commissioners provide regional services, whether it's engineering services. There's the Aggie School. So, there are some regional services they provide, but we do devise, our budget has to go through the county commissioners, and there's a representative from each of the communities, including Stoughton, that go through the budget. So we take a portion of the fees goes through the commissioners, and then we have to get our budget.
The state legislature, maybe?
No, it actually comes through the fees that are collected. Most of the fees, probably 90% of the fees, go into the state, and the other 10% stay with the county, and we get a portion of that to run our budget. Yes, that's enough, and it's been a lot of the modernization initiatives. We've been supported locally by the state legislatures as well. The state legislature passed a tech fund that helped us do a lot of the things that we're doing. And again, we're appreciative of the state legislature in doing that. So a lot of the modernization initiatives, they wouldn't have taken place without the support that we've had locally, that's for sure. And we'll continue to modernize. But we're just... I was telling Fred earlier, I can't believe I've been there 12 years, and there was a local official in another county that got elected a few years ago, and he was telling me about the things that haven't taken place. I said, hey, look, it took me 12 years to get it just to where I want, so it doesn't happen overnight. But the registry, we really been going good.
How big is this, either on a restraining order or as part of the address confidentiality program? If you sell a house in one county and move to, like, into Norfolk County, how does the registry prevent that information from going online?
That's been one of the issues that needs to be looked at. Well, first of all, if they sold a house, only documents that get recorded. So if they bought a house is your issue. That's one of the issues that needs to be kind of looked at, because under the banking community and the way the system was set up is based on names. So it's something.
If they're part of the address confidentiality program, it doesn't.
Well, Bill, the Secretary of State is now trying to do a mailing program, but one of the issues is that the system is built on names, as far as if you borrow money. So again, if some victim came in from out of county, we don't provide that. Now, if they bought a house, that's an issue that it's problematic, especially if they borrowed money, because if they borrowed money, the whole system is predicated on people being able to know, that debt was paid off. So if you hide it, how is the lawyer that's doing the closing? And that's one of the, you're welcome to talk to you afterwards about it. That's one of the issues that needs to be kind of balanced, because the lawyer who's doing the title search, when the closing takes place, they got to know who's borrowed money. Say, a bank needs to get paid off and things like that. So that's a big. Definitely welcome talking to you afterwards, because that's an issue that's probably going to come up a lot more than it has thus far. That's for sure. But anyway, well, great. Well, thanks very much for having me. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, thanks. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank
Thanks.
Bill. That was great. It was nice. We have a nice, real nice cross section actually. The Chamber of Commerce actually, again, a business organization advocating for business, but it also represents the entire community. So, being interactive with town employees, with committee members, and so forth, really I think benefits everybody. So I hope everybody got something out of this. This hopefully will be the first of many future business before hours. Not that Bill's going to be invited to any more of them. Well, he is a chamber.
I told you it wasn't.
Chamber member.
I didn't say it was the most exciting area of government. Now, come on, you want to invite the sheriff? He has better stories. Sheriff Bellotti has better stories than I do, and he's funnier.
That's true. I will make just one suggestion, though. It may seem boring until you don't do what Bill had just suggested, because it will become very unboring. We're not filing a homestead. Not checking to see that your property was registered and that the bank did what they needed to do, depending on what bank you had been with. Mistakes happen. And the registry is right there to enable you to fix your own mistakes. And I will say I've gone there several times, sometimes on the upper floors, but I try to stay in the lower. And I will say the customer service is exceptionally better than what sometimes people expect from government agencies.
Thank you.
So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Again, thanks very much. Thank you.